goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Welcome to Perspective, a podcast for wedding craves, where we sit down with special guests and talk about our many years of experience in the wedding industry so that you can learn from us and hopefully grow your wedding business. But who the hell are we? I am Simon, and this is Senorita Margarita. Together, we are Cinemate Films, Scottish-based wedding filmmakers who love nothing more than drinking coffee and talking shop with others in the wedding industry. And we've teamed up with Photography Farm to bring you 6 special episodes of this podcast in anticipation of London Thrive, the all-star wedding photography workshop taught by 6 phenomenal mentors. This episode is, of course, sponsored by With Jack, but I'll throw Ashley in somewhere randomly in this episode. Greg.
Yes?
I butchered that intro, but let's just go past that. Who are we talking to today?
We are talking to Kirsty Mackenzie. Hello, Kirsty. How you doing?
Kirsty.
Hey! Great intro. Love that.
Oh, thank you. I almost got through it, and then I just bumbled at just right at the end there. Oh, wow. Never mind. Thank you for joining us, Kirsty. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
First of all, what a fucking collection of hats behind you. What are you a hat connoisseur? What's going on?
Yeah. You know how some people collect shoes or bags? I just seem to collect hats. And
yes.
It was getting ridiculous. And I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to make a hat wall. And this is only like a small collection of the hats. And I forget they're there. And then people always comment on it. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, these are my hats. I tend to wear them at weddings. It just got out of hand. Basically, I have bad hair days a lot. And you know, when you're just like, I don't want to look shit for weddings, so I'm just going to hide it all under this hat. And then it just became a thing. And now I feel like couples expect it. When I rock up and my hair's nice, they're just like, oh, where's your hat? Like, it's like this magical thing.
So hang on. Is this, am I missing the trick? So obviously for those who are watching the YouTube video, you might have realized that I'm growing out my hair. So are you telling me, Kirsty, that because I have grown out my hair and it is messy, that I now need to collect hats? Because I have to say, I don't have the head for hats.
Everyone has a head for a hat. You just need to find the right hat.
Yeah, you just need big hats. That's all it is.
Big hats
for your big ball head?
For a Jesus Christ.
I mean, I think your hair looks great. Your hair looks great. Simon.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Stop it, you. Stop it. Honestly. But yeah.
Why have we not got a drink on the table yet?
Oh,
where's the coffee?
Your glasses are empty.
I know.
Because you're the Senorita Margarita, Greg. So Kirsty, I was obviously going through your website. I realized that it says that you're a big fan of margaritas. Now,
I am.
Unfortunately, I didn't have this thought with enough time to send you any of this beverage. However, we have margaritas here.
Do you actually? Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
you should have
we do.
said.
So-
I could have I've got the ingredients downstairs. I could have made one to join in with you.
Oh, no. God damn it.
Of course you do.
Of course
Always
I
in the
do.
fridge.
To be fair, because things don't go too well, usually for me, if I drink alcohol, this is non-alcoholic.
It's also early in the morning.
It's also really early in the morning. But
I mean, yeah, it's midday somewhere, but it's not midday here yet.
I have the salt.
So we have non-alcoholic cocktail margarita by Pentry Drinks. Never heard of them, but it was available on Amazon at short notice.
Yeah, so I'm just going to make these up. I've got lime juice. And do you have a particular way of making these, Kirsty? Or, I mean,
well, there's a few different recipes, but I blend mine.
Right.
So, and I blend it with ice. So I kind of make like a frozen margarita most of the time. Or if you do it, lots of ice is good. I sometimes put a chili in it for like a spicy margarita as well.
It does say on this bottle to serve with chili.
No, it's
There you
got a
go.
hint.
Is it?
Yeah, it's got a dash of chili in it
Oh, it's
already.
already got the chili in it. Oh, there you go. You got to salt the rim. That's what I'm doing here, people.
You do have to salt the rim.
And I mean, my OCD is kicking in here because Greg gave me an odd number of ice You monster. How could you do that?
You've
to
just
me?
taken too many.
What?
You've got 5 in there.
No, I do not. No. Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
You took the wrong amount.
I'm just a fucking idiot. And how
You
much
do
of this
need
do we pour?
full amount of ice. I mean, you need to pour a good amount, but you need lots of ice.
Yes. I probably could do with more ice, but hey-oh. There we go. So, yeah, sorry, podcast listeners. This was terrible podcasting. But,
well, I'll cheers you with my tea.
Cheers.
Enjoy.
Cheers. Thank you. Oh, so salty.
Yeah, that salt was terrible, but the drink tasted nice.
God.
Hold on.
Oh, God. All right.
That's drinkable, yeah.
Before we start talking about things, I want to express my joy recently. I'm sorry, Kirsty. I'll express my joy to you as well. I don't know how you are with the world changing, right? But recently I had a taste of the old world when I went down the street and I opened up my phone and I realized, whoa, a new Smashing Pumpkins album has come out and it's actually pretty good. And then I'm walking up the street and I walk into an HMV shop. When was the last time you've seen HMV pop up?
A long time ago.
A long time ago. So
they're making a comeback.
It would appear so. They've got band t-shirts and loads of, obviously a focus on merch rather than, CDs and stuff. However, they do have a cracking vinyl section. And I've been getting myself into vinyl and just thoroughly enjoying flicking through all the vinyls. What a...
Did they have the Smashing Pumpkins one?
No, that comes out a little bit later. I think vinyls come out a little bit later because it's slow to press them.
Yeah.
Physical media and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, are you a music fan, Kirsty? Are you into the old, or are you more of like, I'll just take my MP3s whenever they come, or I don't even like music. I don't.
I do love music. Music is definitely a big part of who I am as a person. I'm one of those people who kind of loves all genres. I've kind of been through all of the different genres in my lifetime. I was at like dubstep raves back in the day. Now I'm a bit more chilled and, might listen to a bit of Fleetwood Mac or, a bit of Rolling Stones, that kind of thing. I've got Jimmy in the background, actually. It's Jimi Hendrix, yet to go on my wall.
Classic.
Yeah, so a bit of an old soul with music. But then again, I've been listening to a few new things as well. Trying to get into, what's her name? Charlie XCX. That new the Brat Summer thing that I'm too old to get. I don't understand it. But, trying to be down with the kids, keep relevant and all that.
Yes, absolutely.
I've got no idea what Brat Summer is. Like, I've seen it mentioned, Brat, but I don't know where it came from. TikTok, probably.
I mean, neither do I.
Probably.
I've been listening to a lot of Sabrina Carpenter, thanks to my son Nathan.
Yeah,
who likes her. That espresso track is amazing. What it is, just stuck in your head.
It's very catchy. Very catchy.
It is very catchy. Anyway, sorry. Let's go back to you. How did your website launch go? It was pretty recently, was it?
It was very recent. So obviously I was part of the Flow Themes trap and they cancelled their whatever stuff. And I was just like, I need a new website and I need to do it soon. And then StyleCloud came about and then I worked with the team with Evo sites and basically did very little apart from said yes and no. And I like this, I don't like that. And then just decided to launch it midsummer season when I'm super busy. Because why not? I just wanted to get it out there. So it's still got a few tweaks and stuff, but actually, like speed wise, it's actually better. So it's much quicker than the old site. And it seems like it hasn't like taken too much SEO. Usually you see it like drop off and stuff, but actually seem to be ranking okay so far. So hasn't really dropped off, which is good.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah, very good.
Yes, indeed.
So before we go too far, why don't you, for the people who maybe haven't heard of yourself, why don't you give us a quick introduction as to who you are?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, isn't it? Before we actually chat and everyone's like, who is this chick? Why is she here?
Why the hats? Why the hats?
Who is she? Who is she? So yeah, I'm Kirsty. My business is Kirsty Mackenzie Photography. I've been running this business for 12 years, something like that. Maybe longer. I can't remember. Years just go by so quickly now, don't they?
Yeah.
But I'm more in the kind of modern wedding photography camp. The buzzword used to be alternative, but I think that's kind of evolved now. So I feel like it's more like, oh yeah, I'm a modern wedding photographer, a bit about balance, love shooting a bit of documentary, love shooting a few kind of more stylized couple portraits and things like that. Editorial's another buzzword, but I kind of sit somewhere in the middle and kind of do a bit of everything. I'm based down south, if you haven't heard in the accent already. So yeah, I'm based in a little town called Petersfield, which is in the countryside, which is nice. But I am a London girl at heart. I grew up southwest London, so that's kind of my home. And then now I live in the country with my cat Pablo. He kind of rules the roost. And I live with my husband Greg, who should also get a mention as well. Another Greg.
Oh, so. I've been telling people for years they need to find a Greg. I'm so glad that someone has found themselves a Greg. Yeah. They're amazing, right?
Gregs are great. They get a bad rep, I think. Like in lots of movies and like TV series, Gregs are always dicks, and I'm like, they're really missold.
They are really missold. Is yours good with like spreadsheets and money things, or like tell us about your Greg?
So Greg is the house husband. So we're kind of like role reversal in this house. I go out to work, and while I'm gone, he cleans, he cooks, he gardens, keeps the house all in order, basically. He does obviously work as well, but he's definitely kind of the man of the house in terms of keeping it all shipshape and tidy. He's not that great with spreadsheets. I'm the kind of spreadsheet queen, but he is very good with money, much better than me with money. I just like to spend money, and he's like, maybe we shouldn't do that. But then I do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can never have too many hats, right?
Yeah.
There's always a hat to buy.
There's always a hat to buy. Every holiday, you need a new hat, surely, you know?
Yeah. So what else do you like to do outside of photography, like other than collecting hats and spending money? Like what's...
Yeah, good point.
You make her sound so reckless.
Well, I mean, I have. It's a great way to describe me. I'm absolute chaos most of the time. But this is a little fiery ball of chaos in a 5'2" blonde-haired mane. No, I love to be outdoors, to be honest. Hiking. We love hiking. So we went to Canada last month, which was really fun. Well, in June, actually. And went on loads of hikes. Saw a bear from the car, which is good. The best place to see one. Not a grizzly though, thankfully. But yeah, no, we went on loads of hikes. We love going outside, you know, kayaking or just being outside. Greg grew up on the Isle of Wight, so we often go back to the Isle of Wight and like just love walking and getting outside. Usually ends with a pub, you know, nice pub lunch or something. Few drinks.
Sounds good.
And you know, if there's a dog around, then win-win. I love animals, so yeah, seeing dogs on walks is great, or meeting up with friends who've got dogs and we can just take them for walks is like my perfect happy place. Obviously, I love eating food as well, so I hate cooking. I'm not a cook at all. I'm one of those people, you know how some people like cooking relaxes you? I'm like, how can that possibly be? It's like you've got this recipe to follow, and then I never follow the rules on things, so then I'm like, oh, I'll just add a bit of this, add a bit of that, and then I panic, and then it tastes shit, and then I'm like, oh, this was terrible. So I'd much rather someone else cook and I eat.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do the exact same thing. I'm like, surely that's not the right measurement of salt. Surely not. More.
I enjoy cooking, but I do get the stressful part, like trying to make sure everything's ready at the right time, and I don't get creative in my cooking. Like I'll follow a recipe, but I don't do it very often. I need to do more of that. I enjoy it.
What's your dish that you could grow?
I wouldn't say I've got. Well,
you don't have. Everyone's got a dish.
Recently, it's like a carbonara. Like a traditional sort of carbonara.
What's your go-to safety, I can actually cook this meal pretty well dish, Kirsty?
My signature dish is probably a chili con carne, because you can't really fuck it up. you just chuck it all in and cook it for as long as possible without burning it, and it should be all right. And you just put loads of cheese on top of it, mix some sour cream in. If you put too many chilies in it, you just make out it was meant to be that way.
Yeah,
fine.
Sounds perfect. Sounds great.
What's yours then?
Mine's a spaghetti bolognese.
Classic, that's a good one.
The trick is loads of red wine.
Yeah.
And then when you give it to your kids, they're like, "Oh, has this got red wine in it?" Oh. And you're like, "Yes." Kids are so fussy. Anyway, let's talk about Thrive, because that's why you're here with us.
Yeah.
Talk about Thrive.
Yeah, I had actually forgotten that was why I was here.
We're just having a good time. Who cares?
Having a nice chat, yeah.
So your talk at Thrive, what's it going to be about?
Yeah, so it's basically about how to create your own passion projects outside of wedding photography, and how that can elevate your business. And also just, revive your creativity. Lots of people get burnt out after working a wedding season. After summer, you can feel a bit like, it's a lot. It's hard work. It's a real privilege doing the job. And it's amazing, it's amazing that there's so many of us out there able to call this our job, and everyone's kind of crushing it and doing their thing, which is amazing. And it can be creative in some senses, but at the same time, wedding photography can be repetitive. You are serving your clients, right? And you want to do the best job for them. So what about when you feel like you want to do something for you, essentially? I'm talking a little bit about how passion projects can help do that, and how to do them, why to do them, and kind of showing different arrays as well, because people have different passions, right? So it doesn't have to be like doing styled shoots, for example. Obviously that's a part of it, and I do styled shoots, so that I will talk a little bit about that. But it's actually about what people are passionate about, whether that's photographing people on the street, whether that's asking to do a portrait of someone, whether that's documenting your own family, or taking a camera out and just being a bit more conceptual in how you approach something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
What's been like a recent project that you've created for yourself?
So at the moment, I'm actually photographing my brother, which is a real personal project that I haven't told anyone about yet. So I'm going to talk about it at Thrive.
Okay.
Yeah, but
this goes out to other people, right?
No.
Okay.
It's a surprise. No, I haven't told anyone about it yet because it's still very early stages, but it's a project I'm really excited about because my brother, he's a vulnerable adult. He's got severe autism and he has a lot of seizures and stuff. So life's a bit tough for him, my mum cares for him and he has carers working with him and stuff. And I wanted to do a project kind of documenting his life a little bit for a really long time. And it's something that I've been toying about since uni, actually. Just because it's something that, and I'm not going to really be sharing it with the world or anything like that, but it's something personally that I just want to do for memories, because it's very rare that we kind of get family photos together and stuff like that. So it's just, something that I thought would be quite a nice documenting thing. I might make a book on it or something for the family. So
yeah. It's interesting that you said you're kind of keeping it to yourself, because what I imagined would be you create like a styled shoot, you do the styled shoot, and that shoot would represent the kind of clients that you want to get, and then you could then blog about it and do the SEO type stuff. But what you're saying about that passion project is it's more for you on like a personal level, which
personal level
is not what I would have expected.
Yeah, so what I've done a lot of styled shoots, and like you said, they're a great way to elevate your business. They're a great way to share it with the world, to, say, look what I can do in these kind of situations, or, I'd love to attract more clients at this venue, or I'd love to attract more couples who have this kind of style or want this kind of look and feel. And I think they're great. And I love doing concepts like that. I love being creative. I love fashion. And I've done loads of them. But throughout the years, of doing wedding photography, there's also like people is such a big driver of weddings, right? And you know, I think that this project reminds me when I'm at weddings to actually focus on those little moments between people and how precious they are to people. And that kind of, those kind of projects, I think, really do remind you about empathy and about, you know, family dynamics and all that kind of stuff. So there's lots of different topics within the talk that I'm talking about. Yeah. So yeah, I just thought I'd kind of throw in something different.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, yeah, as you say, like wedding photography is so diverse. You cover every range of photography, and we've talked about that before. So whatever your project is, will have some way of relating back to your job of wedding photography. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Kirsty, Neil got back to me.
He did.
I messaged him. So just before we hit record, Kirsty got us slightly confused by another creator, another filmmaker, and so Neil said that it's Victoria from Cinematic Life.
Okay.
I read it wrong.
Do you know Victoria from Cinematic
I'm sure
Life?
I've met her at the pub once before. Like big curly blonde hair, I think.
Okay.
If it's who I'm thinking of.
I'm terrible with names and faces, so Kirsty, if you're listening, Victoria, if you're listening, I do apologize. But yeah, have fun with that one.
So it was a close name, obviously.
It was so close.
It was so close. Okay, I don't feel too bad now because I probably just read the first bit and was like, oh yeah, that's who that is, obviously, in Scotland.
Yes. I'm glad you didn't look at us and think, oh, Simon is clearly Victoria. Lovely long hair.
So you said you've been doing wedding photography for at least 12 years now.
Yeah.
So what got you into it way back at the start? Like, what's your origin story in weddings?
Good question. Yeah, it's quite funny actually because I stumbled through university and did a degree in photography. Do I think it helped? Probably not. I mean, it taught me a lot about life, how to budget, you know. I can live off some tins of baked beans and get, you know, a 20-pack of cider and have a good time. Was pretty much my life at uni. And then it was quite funny actually because I always loved portraiture. So I was always doing like conceptual shoots around portraiture, whether that be fashion or other projects. So I loved photographing people. I always found that really interesting. And I never really clicked to do weddings at all after uni. It was something that my lecturer actually said to us, like, oh, you know, if you don't make it as a photographer, you become a wedding photographer, which I always find quite funny. I know. I mean, it's a very different world now in wedding photography.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an aspirational job now, whereas before in the photography industry, it was a bit more like, wedding photographers, they're just the low of the low. But yeah, I think it's very different now. But it was quite funny that he said that because I was just like, yeah, well, I'm never going to be a wedding photographer, obviously. And here I am. So I think the last wedding I'd been at that point after I finished university was like my auntie's wedding in the 90s. And I just remember it being very boring and having to wait around and just have your photo taken. And all the photos were just, not my thing. And then I actually helped a friend out who was doing wedding photography after university. He's also a wedding photographer, so shout out to Kit Myers if he's listening. He is a wedding photographer based in Surrey, and he kind of took me along just to help out at a wedding. And it was this festival style teepee wedding, really beautiful, really lovely day. And it kind of sparked this creative kind of fire in my belly that was like, oh, I didn't realize that this could be wedding photography, and it could be a really amazing creative job. And then I kind of did that and then was like, I actually want to do weddings now. And I tried out a load of different kind of shoots with different jobs and stuff, you know, and other stuff like when you're shooting for catalogs, it's like a stylist sets it up, a marketing team approves it, the photographer takes the photo. That's pretty much it, unless you're like big dog shooting for like Vogue or something. But you know, it's not very creative. Whereas wedding photography can be, like you said, all types of photography. You're kind of blending into loads of different things. If you're shooting a venue, you can shoot like some fun architecture. If you're shooting people, you can be documentary, or if you're shooting, you know, couples, you can be a bit more editorial or stuff like that. So yeah, I just loved the variety. And yeah, I'm really grateful to do it because I really love it. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but it's something I never thought of doing, and then stumbled into it and was just like, oh, this is actually quite a good job. I like this.
Yeah. There's nothing cheesy about saying your passions. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, to still have that 12 years or so in, like we're 14 years in maybe, 14. And similar. Yeah, like it still feels great to go to a wedding and be like, we're honored to like actually be asked to document this and create a film for it.
I genuinely thought you were going to make a joke of that. Like, we've been 14 years in the business. Oh my God.
You're veterans.
So what, obviously doing weddings, what's been your like, what was your biggest challenge when you started doing weddings then? Like, what was the one thing that you remember most of all right at those early stages?
I guess when I first started out, there was still a lot of traditional weddings happening. And I think for my kind of style, I was working on quite traditional weddings and not really clicking so much. So I think that was the first challenge, was like, how do I market and build a business for the more alternative, laid back couples who want to have fun or, do something that's not necessarily the norm. I think that was the challenge that I kind of had to iron out the first few years, and also finding your style. I think it does take a few kind of years to actually like do everything and say yes to everything, and then take the things that you like from those things, because unless you've done it, you don't necessarily know, right? I think some people can just be like, I want to jump in and charge like £1 million a wedding and go to all these places. But what if you end up hating like traveling and like going on airplanes all the time? Like, I'm not marketed as like a destination wedding photographer. I might do like 1 or 2 a year, but for me, I love UK weddings. I love all the elements of like a UK wedding, and being able to also just be comfortable in like knowing what I'm gonna get, if that makes sense. Like having to get on a plane and go through security and check your bags. I did a wedding on the Orkney Islands a while ago. Yeah. And I had to get an interconnecting flight to the Orkney Islands on this like proper, like a plane that you just don't think is real anymore. Like, how are they still flying this in the air? Like, they had propellers on the front and everything. It was the smallest plane I'd ever seen. And basically the guy waved my camera bag and he was like, you can't take that on as hand luggage. And he was like, this has to go in the hold. And I was like, no, like, this cannot go in the hold. Like, I need this for this wedding. And he was like, well, do you have insurance? I was like, that's not really the point. Like, this can't be chucked around in hold because I need these cameras. And in the end, I think I was just point blank refused and argued with the guy. And then he was just like, fine, but if they tell you like the plane's like too heavy, or like they had to basically like weigh everything to make sure the plane was even, so that it didn't like. So yeah, I was just like, well, I will literally spread my camera equipment across all the seats to make it even, if this is really that much of an issue. So yeah, I think I'm scarred for life by that. So yeah, destination weddings are not really my thing. So yeah, I think you have to kind of do everything to know what you love doing.
Yeah. I mean, we're the same. Like, we used to fly off to Italy and I mean, France, and what was the last destination? Norway? Was that the last destination we actually did?
Yeah, Tromso.
A few years ago, even before COVID, I think it was. But like, I don't really enjoy traveling. If I'm honest, I'm kind of like you. And then driving around on the other side of the road. Well, Greg always did that. And don't get me wrong, these weddings were amazing. And
good fun, yeah.
You know, we've done some pretty crazy mad weddings out there, but I like walking around the Scottish hills. I like being up in Skye. I like being rained on. I know that sounds weird, but I really do. Plus, I like seeing my family. So, more time home, more family time.
Yeah, I totally get it. Get it. I'm in that camp for sure.
But yes, now I'm thinking we haven't done an elopement in a little while. It's been weddingy this year. But if we do an elopement, I'll need one of those hats.
Yeah.
So you'll have to buy me one of those hats.
the good thing about a hat is it covers you in bad weather and good weather. You know, you don't get any sunstroke, or if it's raining, it's basically like a little umbrella around your head. Your camera doesn't get wet. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the question is, Kirsty, where can I get myself one of these hats? Because they are very popular. They are very popular, and it's almost on the that's too hipster to get one of those hats now, you know. But still, where can I get one of these hats?
I can send you some links. We can sort you out. But yeah, I've got them from loads of different places. To be fair, Etsy is a good one actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
I will not talk about your hats anymore, Kirsty. I don't mean to label you.
I don't think you can promise that.
Okay, I can't promise that.
I feel like I should have worn a hat on this call now. I feel like, you know.
But then it would just block out too much of the background. I want to see all your hats displayed so beautifully as they are.
That's true. There's more actually. I don't know if I can.
There's more. Can't quite get there. Can't quite. Anyway, no more hat talk. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Let's talk about bookings then, since a lot of people seem to be struggling this year because of a number of reasons, I suppose. In fact, Lisa Devlin gave us an interesting thought, a theory as to why, which I'd not really thought of.
I can't remember it.
I can't remember what's in there. I was listening to you. I'm sorry, Lisa. I promise I was listening to what you were saying.
The one thing I remember her saying was about late bookings. Maybe people are more aware of the late and last minute bookings because they have availability.
Oh yes,
I remember that, but I don't remember your theory you were talking about.
No, I think that was it. It was like now that there's more room in the calendar, people are noticing more that, you know, the idea of people now are waiting a few weeks before the book. Is that just because you're noticing these because you have the room to take on these kind of bookings? Or is it actually because the market has changed and people are actually waiting?
Yeah.
Anyway, what's your experience with the bookings? And how many bookings do you like to aim for just to keep sane?
So yeah, 30 is my goal, 30 a year. And then that leaves a bit of room to kind of say yes to a few last minute kind of bookings, and then kind of get up to 35, sometimes 40, if I'm really kind of got the space to do it. But yeah, no more than 40 is the rule. Because
are you quite good at sticking to that?
No, I'm always a rule breaker. No. It's so bad. I'm like the ultimate people pleaser. I'm like, yeah, I can do that, sure. But no, COVID did actually put things into perspective, because having that COVID catch-up period was insane. I think one year I shot 70 weddings, and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And lots of traveling and stuff as well. So, I kind of reined it right back and was like, right, 30 is the goal, and then 35 to 40 is kind of like a happy place for me. Yeah, but I'm pretty good at sticking to that, to be fair. A few maybe, sneak in last minute, a Christmas wedding here or there. But yeah, no, I'm kind of, I think a lot of people in the industry are talking about, lack of bookings or less weddings, the whole engagement gap thing because of COVID maybe. But also just venues have availability, for this year, which is usually unheard of. Big venues have got availability for this year and next year. So I think everyone is feeling it, not just necessarily photographers. But obviously there are a lot of photographers out there. And I definitely felt this year my spring was a lot quieter than normal. I had a lot of weekends off, which was lovely. I was able to go to Canada. I had 2 back-to-back weekends off in the summer. I mean, that's unheard of. Yeah. So in some ways it was great because I was just I'm going to celebrate having the time off. But then I've also had to take on probably a few extra bookings in the summer that I probably wouldn't have done if I'd have had a bit more of a normal year, I guess.
Why wouldn't you have done those? Just because they're reaching your booking limit, or because they're...
You've just frozen.
Oh no! Damn internet again!
Are we back?
I think you're back. Yeah, you just froze. Okay, it might be my internet.
Okay, we had when we were speaking to Lisa we were our internet just went dead.
Yeah.
And we have a co-working space here, so everyone's internet went off, and then we found out that there was construction outside, and they just severed a wire, and the whole center had no internet. And I'm thinking, how can we do a podcast? But yeah, so I'm glad you're back. So thank you. So you're taking on those extra bookings in the summer. Is that because you wanted to just take on the extra bookings, or?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it was to kind of be able to, live the life I still want to live. Essentially, like hit the kind of goals that I need to hit. My mortgage also doubled, which wasn't fun. So
wow.
Yeah, like the mortgage rates we got really stung by in the new year. So it went up nearly double. So yeah, just like life, isn't it? And like being able to, obviously it's lucky to be able to be in a self-employed position, right? Because you don't have to stick to a monthly salary. You can just be like, yeah, okay, I'll take a bit of extra work here. Still obviously giving a good amount of service to my clients. Like I never want to take on too much that I feel like I'm dropping the ball with stuff. I'm always giving like 110%, and nothing's ever late. Everything's always managed. But yeah, it's easy to be like, yeah, I can do this then, and I can take this on then, and have some time off here. That kind of thing is the kind of great thing about being self-employed. I know some people really struggle with that, and some people like to know they've got the work in, but and plan their year around that. But I'm kind of a bit more relaxed about it, I guess because I've been doing it a while. It kind of just does have its peaks and troughs.
Yeah. Where are you finding sort of most of your clients? Is it referrals? Is it like online marketing, or like where do you tend to get most of your clients from?
So my three main pillars of inquiries is Instagram, Google, and word of mouth, like referrals. So yeah, they're the kind of three main streams that I have for inquiries. And it used to be Instagram was the biggest, but now I think Google has overtaken it, which is quite interesting. I don't know whether that's because my reach on Instagram hasn't been as good, or I haven't been posting quite so regularly. I haven't been on top of the Instagram game.
It's not because you've been reporting your competitors, is it, Kirsty? Is it? Are you one of the ones?
Oh my gosh! Yeah, what the hell was that? Right? No, I didn't even realize that was a thing until it all came out, and then I was like, "What? Did you guys get affected? Or were you okay?"
We were okay.
We didn't get touched by it, but a few folk. It was mainly Edinburgh based, wasn't it? There's a group of people in Edinburgh that were impacted, and yeah, there was just a lot of panic in Facebook that day, wasn't there?
Yes. Now all you need to do is look up on Google top wedding photographer, and the culprit will be right at number one. That's who it is. We all know.
We all know who it is. Well, I don't know. Well, this is the thing,
isn't it? It's
just a
Google search away.
I guess in desperate times, people have been doing underhand tactics, but it's just not good. Like, I'm such a big believer in community, that my mind can't even contemplate doing something like that, and like being so shady and reporting people. It's like, what? So yeah, weird times, and the whole sepia bride thing, and it's just weird times.
Yes, yeah. Is that something you're ever nervous of? The sepia bride type aspect? I mean, if I'm looking at your work, it's very colorful. It's. I wouldn't say you're augmenting the colors too far to be misunderstood by a client in the way that sepia bride was.
Yeah, I would hope so. I'd say that I don't change colors too much. Like, it's kind of true color, but obviously vibrantly edited. So making the colors pop is something I love to do. But hopefully, touch wood, not so far. I haven't had anything, anyone expecting anything different. So we'll see. Who knows? I do know that I feel like a lot of people have said that people have been asking for raws more recently. And I don't know whether that is a thing because of sepia bride.
Probably,
quite possibly.
It's probably something that will fade out eventually. Like, people will forget about asking for that.
Yeah, there'll be another trend that comes along, and then it'll kind of be fine.
Are you one of these photographers that wouldn't give your raws, or would you charge for the privilege of that?
I don't know. I've never really done it. And I think I wouldn't probably want to. Unless it was like something that would, I guess in that, like a service-based business, you want to be able to like come to some kind of resolution, right? And, you know, make sure that you do, you know, if anyone does have a complaint or wants raws, you kind of come to a resolution where everyone's happy. But I would hope that people would understand why I wouldn't give the raws out. I mean, unless you're actually a photographer anyway, I very much doubt you'd be able to do anything with the raws.
Exactly. Well,
so it's like kind of educating people on that, I think, rather than actually just being like, yeah, pay me like £3,000 and you can have them all.
Yeah. I suppose it's maybe a little bit different for video, but if someone asks us for the raw footage, which they do actually tend to do, you can have the raws and you can have them at a very hefty price.
Yeah.
Because I need to feed my family. But it's all there and it's not any extra work for us. It used to be for Greg, because I used to leave him little messages when I'm shooting a table plan and I'd sing him a song, be like, "This is for you, Greg." You know, something random. I don't know. And he'd have to cut out all the bits of audio. Yeah. But now I've since lost the will to sing.
Thank you.
That's really interesting. That people want all of the raw footage. Like that must be hours and hours of just nothing.
It is.
Well, not, like,
Well, and we overshoot as well. Like it's not.
And you know, there's always a clip of your feet on the day when you forgot to hit record.
Yeah. Always.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Makes you look very professional.
Yeah, I often take photos of the floor on my feet. I don't know how. Just putting my camera down, I must just take a photo, and I'm like going through culling. I'm like, oh yeah, there's another one.
Do you have a little folder of all your little photographs of your feet? Because that would be funny.
I haven't actually. Maybe I should. Maybe that's the thing I could share.
It's a future book.
Yeah. A future passion project, photos of feet. I'm sure someone would buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure someone would. I'm sure someone would.
Continuing on.
Yeah, moving on.
Continuing on with the talk about bookings, like you've got your target of 30, creeping over that a year. What's your approach to pricing? Like, do you have a standard package that just everyone gets, or do you flex it? Like, how do you structure your offering to your couples?
Good question. So I've got like 4 main packages, but I do kind of tailor them as into what they want. So some people want shorter coverage, which I offer, usually not on a weekend, but like if they're having like a town hall ceremony and they just want a few hours coverage, I'm happy to offer that. Or if they want kind of full day, I offer full day coverage. And then they can kind of add on second photographer, albums, that kind of thing. I tend to just, because I'm quite lazy, I don't really change stuff too much. Like I don't really do bespoke quotes for people. I'm just kind of like, here they are, and let me know which you want or what you want to kind of change, if that makes sense. Like you can add on things very easily. Like you can add on an extra hour. Right. I've got a CRM booking thing in Dubsado, which is very pretty. So it basically means that I have to do very little and they can just choose whatever they want, essentially.
Yeah. In having conversations with a ton of photographers, some of them have said, in fact, we've even got a Thrive speaker who doesn't use a CRM. Mm-hmm. What's your experience been with using a CRM type software? Have you had a good experience? Is it like essential to your business?
So I was actually in the camp of I don't need CRM. I'm super organized. I'm a spreadsheet Excel queen and I can run the business. And I did that for many years. And then my friends were all like, why don't you just use a CRM? And then I did invest in it. And I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Like I never have to draw up another invoice again. It's just saved me so much time. And also like, I don't have to think about things anymore. Like I don't have to think about sending out a final invoice or what date I have to chase up things. So yeah, it's great. I mean, I highly recommend it, especially if you're shooting like a lot of weddings. I guess if you only shoot, I don't know, 5 a year or something, then you might not need it. But yeah, for me, I was just like, yeah, with 30 weddings in the diary, it's a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to remember the one that we use. The name has slipped my mind.
We use Bloom.
That's right.
Bloom.io.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
So obviously we've got different roles in the company. Greg, you're the CRM guy.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your experience of Bloom so far? No thoughts. Good.
I like quite a few aspects of it, but I feel like I've tried to do too much with it, and I need to simplify what I do.
How so? What do you mean?
I don't know, just too many...
What are you doing in my business?
Too many forms that are separate, and I need to simplify it a bit. And I'm actually considering jumping ship again.
Oh,
which I did
my God.
Only just switched to Bloom like 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm tempted to maybe switch, but I can't be arsed with it at the same time.
You are always switching softwares and calendar things. Oh, you're a naughty boy, you are. Kirsty, how many images do you tend to offload to a client? Edited, obviously.
Yeah, so it's about 10% of what I shoot. Funnily enough, it always just seems to be that way. I don't ever set that goal, but what's that?
We're having a fire alarm. Hang on, I forgot.
Is that for real?
It's testing Wednesday, although they're
later than normal.
They're late. It should have already happened before recording. I had just figured they had forgotten. Sorry, podcast listeners, for the alarm. It's on our end.
Oh, yeah. Should I wait for it to finish? Yeah, there we go. It's done.
There we go. Thank goodness.
It's funny. It literally is usually around 10% of what I shoot. So it's about... I can shoot quite a lot. I'm an overshooter, I guess. I can shoot about 7,000 to 10,000 images a wedding. If I've got if I've got a second shooter, it's usually around 10,000. If it's for full day, and I'm kind of always kind of finger on the trigger, taking way too many photos of the same moment, I guess, just to make sure I get the kind of right moment. So and then I usually. Yeah, about 10%. So anywhere between 700 to 1,000 images, usually, a wedding. Sometimes it's a little bit less if I'm there less hours or something. It can be like 500 photos. But yeah, usually it's around the 700 odd mark.
Yeah. Are you using any AI coloring software or even something like Imagine to color your images?
So I use Aftershoot, but I cull myself because I have tried. I just can't get on board with the culling software of Aftershoot. I feel like it takes longer because I have to wait a few hours for it to do its thing, and then I have to check through it anyway, and then I don't like what it's actually culled because I think it's quite hard when you've got AI and that kind of stuff. But when you're physically at a wedding, you know what moments will be more precious, or you know the story behind the moment that's happened and why you want to include it, or like an out of focus image that you might want to include or whatever, or like a really lovely shot of like granddad laughing but it's not quite in focus or whatever, like those kind of things. I just think it's just easier for me to, and I'm quite quick at culling. Like I'm quite good at just after a wedding day, if I'm not too tired, I just sit down and do a first kind of cull, and then I'll do a second cull just before I edit it. So, I think I'm pretty good at the culling and don't really trust AI with it. I do put stuff through Aftershoot as like a basic edit, to kind of run through my profile basically, because it just is quite consistent in how it edits the photos. And then I'll just go through manually and kind of tweak it anyway. So I'm probably not the best Aftershoot advocate, but I kind of have it and I do use it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all use tools in different ways, so yeah, absolutely. You did mention second shooting, and it got me thinking about a conversation that we had with someone else. I can't remember the name of who this person was, but we were talking about second shooting and our approach to using second shootings or second shooters, or even our approach to being a second shooter. So when you work with someone else for your photography, what are you getting them to do?
Yeah, it's an interesting subject actually, because I've heard of some photographers who say like, oh, I get them to do the safe stuff and then I am able to free myself up and do the creative stuff. But I guess for me, my client expects me to do the safe stuff. Like they'll want me to get the families together and pick the location and do those kind of group shots. So I guess I'm in the other camp of like a second photographer for me gets like those lovely little candid moments and more detailed shots of stuff that I won't have time necessarily to do. And usually that's what the couple expect as well. And they're quite happy with that. And, you know, second photographers are great because you get different perspectives from things. Like, I'm not necessarily sold on having a second photographer copy what I'm doing, you know. I'm quite happy for them to kind of see moments and do their thing with it, which is quite nice. So, yeah.
Have you ever worked with a second who just, and you don't need to say names, but like who hasn't got the brief? They just don't know what they're doing. They're not shooting in the way that you'd maybe hope they would. Have you ever worked in that kind of situation?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm quite good at communicating, and also I only work with people who are like really good at what they do. I don't just kind of get someone who I don't know or is just kind of like a new photographer or something like that. So I'll always kind of vet the second photographers who are available to make sure that it is someone who's like aligned in what I want them to do. If that makes sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. The only reason I say that is because, and again, I'm not going to say any names, but having spoken to a number of other photographers, even though like a shooter could be very good, award-winning, or, you know, just having spent years in this industry, in the second role, they just fall apart. And so I find it really interesting. I just feel like it can be really interesting if a photographer is known for something, and then you bring them on board, and then they're just shit. Shit's hard, but
I mean,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are definitely stories of like people not getting the vibe or the brief, or not really going into that kind of second photographer role, or getting kind of because for me, I don't want different angles of the couple when I'm taking them for couple portraits. I want them to be getting the stuff that I'm not seeing, you know. I want them to have the different perspectives. So I guess, it is quite important to manage that beforehand. But I guess in some ways it is hard, because if your expectations are different, and then like you say, like someone could be super experienced and have a great style and a great skill set, and then they just don't deliver what you expect, it's difficult.
Yeah. I can also imagine it to be quite challenging if, say, you have a style, and you're brought on, and is the idea that you are there to capture this wedding in your style, or are you, because we've had this point of view before, are you there to, like you said, replicate Kirsty or whoever you're shooting with? Is that what is the role? So communication is key, because it's obviously very clear from speaking to so many people that there is no right or wrong way that people do things. So just communicate if you're seconding, or even leading if it's your wedding and you have a second. Yeah, let them know, because you might not get what you want. Anyway, I want to talk about your style, Kirsty, because we've obviously talked about your coloring and stuff. Has your style evolved over time? And if so, why do you shoot with the style that you have now?
Yeah, I think my style evolves yearly, to be honest. Not loads, but like I think you just evolve in general. You know, you kind of, trends change and things get better. Like, oh my gosh, like the first weddings that I photographed, if you look back at those images, they are pretty embarrassing. They're really bad.
How so?
I just used to do these weird overlays with like clouds or trees, and not like double exposure cool stuff either. It's just like, it was, I was in my experimenting phase then, and it was just not the best. So skills have gotten better, which is good. And style's definitely evolved a little bit. I was more into like alternative stuff a few years ago, and I was very much in the camp of like shooting a lot of festival weddings or a lot of kind of weddings where couples wanted to do things a bit differently. Whereas now I think I've evolved a little bit in the sense of I still have very modern, relaxed couples who love to have fun and party, who want kind of, you know, nice photos. But I think I've evolved in the sense that I'm focusing a little bit more on shooting lots of different weddings. So it doesn't have to be a festival style wedding. It could be like a manor house or, you know, a church and a marquee, or whereas before I wasn't really marketing myself for that, if that makes sense. So
yeah. Cool.
What would you say is the most memorable wedding you've photographed over those years?
It's really hard for me because like loads of people always go, oh, what's your favorite venue? Like you must have like worked at some amazing places. And of course I have, but for me, it's always about the people. So like there's so many memorable weddings because so many people have been amazing, right? You know, when you feel like part of the family, when, you know, you get like cheered as you leave, that kind of stuff. It's like really lovely. So there's definitely couples that stand out for being like absolutely epic. But I don't know that I can pinpoint like one. It's like choosing like your favorite child or something, isn't it? Like you can never say who that is.
Yeah. Fair enough.
A nice safe answer.
Like, what's your
very safe. Sorry, guys.
approach to a...
It's all right. But we all have favourite children. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you'll never say who it is.
Depends who's in earshot.
Hey, I'm Ashley from With Jack. I'm one of the sponsors of the Perspective podcast. With Jack helps to keep photographers in business by supporting them financially and legally if they have problems with a client or they make a mistake in their work. We've all had that fear of our CF card or our hard drive failing and losing important photos. You can find out more at withjack.co.uk. Head over there and find out how we can help you be a confident creative.
What's your approach to a wedding day? Like, what's your mindset when you go into the start of a wedding day?
So I tend to read the room. I'm pretty chilled out. I like to make people feel relaxed. So I tend to like settle in with a coffee and whatever and kind of have a little chat to people and kind of read the room. There'll be occasions where I kind of chat a bit more, or there'll be occasions where I kind of sift into the background depending on the vibe. You know, there might be some really high energy characters there and I don't need to say anything. I'll just kind of snap away. Or there might be some people who are a bit nervous and feel like they want a bit of conversation and they want, you know, some suggestions or encouragement or whatever. So that's kind of my approach. I'm kind of like a bit of a, read the room kind of gal, and will, you know, not mess up the vibe of your wedding day, essentially. I'll kind of blend in and kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah. Do you have any techniques for shooting groups of people? Like, are you trying to blend in as much as possible, or like what's your goal when you have a group of people once you've established the kind of approach? Like, what's going on in your head? Like,
do you mean like for the family group photos, or do you just mean in general, like when you're like just in a room?
I feel like just in a room is probably a more challenging, because you've got so many different types of people who could be filling a room in a space, and you either need to figure out, are you blending in? Are you not blending in, like you just said? But do you have, like, are you using like a longer lens for a specific moment, or are you just quickly popping up and going, ha, getting a moment and then running away? That's what I do.
I think I do both. So like there'll be sometimes where I'll make a suggestion like, oh, you know, do you want a like nice photo together or whatever? And some people say yes. Or sometimes I'll just kind of like see a moment and take it, because obviously that's just happening quite naturally and fluidly. So I guess I do a bit of both. But if there's like some nice light going on and like people are having a good time, you know, I'm probably going to let them have a nice time, unless it's like the couple. And then I'm like, there's some epic light here. Do you want a photo? But I kind of manage that in the consultation beforehand, because I'll be like, what's the kind of vibe? Do you want me to tell you if there's like an epic golden hour going on? do you want me to kind of let you know if there's some nice light for a photograph? And 9 times out of 10, they go, absolutely. And then I'm like, cool, I'll check with you on the day. Feel free to say no if you're in the middle of something, but I'll always like let you know, kind of thing. So the couple were aware that I do like chat to them and let them know, like if there's something I think will be a good photo. In terms of like groups of people, I don't tend to interrupt stuff too much unless I'm like actually laughing with them. Like there was a wedding the other day where there was this group of like friends and they were just like making the weirdest shit up for Jenga. So you know how Jenga's usually quite like, you know, vanilla. They were like making rules where it was just like phenomenal that it was still going. They were like having to create these different structures, and you had to like tap out a bit of Jenga with like a beer bottle. You couldn't touch it with your hands, kind of thing, etc., etc. So that I was getting fully involved in and like chatting to them about, and then snapping away at the same time, because sometimes it's easier to blend in and chat to people to get those kind of good shots.
Yeah, cool. And what, like you mentioned the consultation phase there, what sort of legwork are you putting in at that stage to sort of build that rapport with your couples? Is it Zoom calls, questionnaires?
Yeah, it's a shit ton of stuff because I like to manage the expectations. So yeah, it's a really long questionnaire. We either meet up in person or have a Zoom call. I then also, after the consultation, create a little WhatsApp group. If the couple wants that, which most of them do. So then we kind of chat, and then that like couple of weeks leading up to the wedding, if there's anything they kind of think about or want to chat with. I think it's just more security that they can kind of know I'm kind of around, if that makes sense. I know that's not for everyone, and I didn't actually used to do that, but I found it's like something couples really appreciate. So it's just another like kind of touch point, just as like nearer the wedding day, we can kind of chat through things.
Yeah.
Do you add in other suppliers to that, or do you just keep it to you and the couple?
You know what? It's just me and the couple, but I guess if I was shooting with a videographer, it might be kind of handy to involve them, but they might also not want to be involved. So I wouldn't want to like just do it as standard, I guess. I usually, if I haven't worked with a videographer team before, then I usually message them separately just to be like, oh, hey, we're working together. If you want to chat through anything beforehand, let me know. Because I like to be a dream team. Like, I really do love to work with videographers. And I think, like, it's such an important, like, different aspect of your wedding memories that it's important to, like, be a seamless team. I don't understand the people who want to butt heads all the time with people. So I like to kind of, just make sure we're all going to have a nice day, essentially.
Yeah. Who do you normally tend to work with, or... well, is there a person that you normally work with, or is it just random usually?
So I do recommend a couple of gals who are very talented videographers, who I've worked with loads of times. They're based usually in the South, but I mean, a lot of times I work with a lot of different videographers depending on where I am and who the couple pick. Like, and sometimes these days I've been speaking to some couples and they've already picked their videographer ahead of picking the photographer. So like, you know, I think it kind of works both ways. I just like working with chilled people, essentially. Like, I like to have a nice chilled day with people. I don't get too stressed on wedding days. So if someone's faffing, that's just like unnecessary.
Yeah. Who are the girls that you normally recommend? I've got Google open. I'm ready to type in names.
So
I like to stalk people.
Ash Videography.
Ash Videography.
Alice Underwood Films.
Alice Underwood Films.
Hushabye Films.
Oh, there she is. Hushabye. Oh, I know them.
Yeah,
I recognize that name.
Good films. Ooh, there's a show reel right here. Oh, it's nice.
Yeah, they're the kind of main three, but there are also a few others on the list. But
Ash has got one of your hats.
Yeah.
You said no more hats.
Oh, sorry.
You're literally like me. That's so funny, Simon. Whenever if I see a puppy, I'm like, oh my God, there's a puppy.
Yeah, it's I call it my strange personality, but it's fine. All right, so I'm gonna have a goosey gander at them a little bit later because this is the Kirsty show right now. All right, what steps do you take to be able to like authentically capture a couple's personality in in your stills? Because as we all know, some couples are shy, some couples are really outgoing, some people love to strike a pose. What's your approach to authenticity?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it's super important to get to know what your couple wants. So on my questionnaire, you top yourself up of your alcohol-free margarita.
This is like my third one. I'm like not leaving any for Greg.
It's finished. Oh my God.
You're probably going to be on a massive sugar high now. You're going to crash later.
Is this, what's in it? It can't be that bad.
Margaritas should have agave or sugar in.
Agave,
so, yeah.
It's definitely the main ingredient in there.
Just sugar. Oh wow, it really is.
Yeah, you're going to sugar high. It's going to be a lovely morning for you.
Wonderful.
But let's get back to authenticity. So I actually asked my couples in my questionnaire, like, what kind of couple photos they imagine. Like, do they want kissing shots? Do they want romantic shots? Do they want fun stuff? Do they want serious, non-serious, that kind of thing? A few other options as well. And I think that's a really good question to ask people, because so many people or couples have different ways of kind of showing affection, or, lots of different personality types, right? So not all couples want to be romantic on their wedding day. Like, not all couples want to be kissy or PDA. So I think establishing that beforehand is really good. And then on the wedding day, I tend to just chat through the couple session. Like, I work very quickly. My couples don't want to be spending ages on couple portraits. It's like 15 minutes and then you're kind of done. And then maybe like another 15 minutes kind of later on in the day. So it's very much just have a little walk, have a little chat, get a feel for what they want to do. Sometimes they want to just have fun and mess around, be silly. Sometimes they just want to have a quiet moment together. So I just kind of encourage that, essentially. And sometimes there's a few little, guiding poses you can do to help things. Sometimes if they look at me in complete fear, like, oh my God, what are we doing? We're so awkward. This is horrible. I obviously jump in a little bit more and go, no, it's okay. You're doing great. You're doing great, sweetie. Be Kris Jenner, big them up.
Okay.
Channel your Kris Jenner.
Do you have any ideas of like poses for a certain couple when you go? You're like, okay, well, I know they're relaxed and happy. Let's get them piggybacking each other. Piggybacking? Is that the right? Giving a piggyback? Why am I struggling?
That is a thing, yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. Do you understand what a piggyback is?
Piggybacking.
I feel like I'm saying that wrong.
No, that's right. Piggyback. The piggyback.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. The sugar's hitting faster than I thought.
I usually, sometimes I do, I guess. Yeah. Sometimes I might be like, oh, how's your back? Do you want to pick so-and-so up or whatever? And they might do a piggyback or something. But I don't tend to do it out of the blue. Like, I kind of read whether they would be up for stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't say that to every couple. It would just be certain kind of couples, I think. Yeah. But for the most part, they're usually quite chilled, and sometimes they'll just be jumping all over each other anyway, and I don't have to say anything. So.
Yeah. But you don't have a preconceived notion of poses before you go. It's usually off the cuff, right?
Usually, yeah. I'm pretty reactive. I can't really make decisions unless I'm in the moment, which is just my brain, how I work. I always find if I do try and pre-plan stuff, it never actually goes that way. And then I just feel annoyed at myself. So I just tend to now be quite reactive in that and not try and pre-plan stuff too much.
Yeah. I understand that you sort of believe weddings should be celebrated and not photo sessions. Is that where the sort of theory of not taking the couple away for too long comes from? Is that part of it? Just short, sharp bursts of couple shoots?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think working with my couples, they literally don't want to be that couple who are away for hours doing photos. It's just not in the nature. And also, like, for me, my attention span's also not that great. So like, I like to do like quick short bursts, whether that's let's just go in this nice light for 10 minutes, or let's just do this for like 10 minutes and then back to the party, because I think there's so much that the couple want to be enjoying on their wedding day, and it goes so quick, right? That for my couples anyway, and for how I work, I think they really appreciate that. But I know there's other people, like one of my really good friends, Rebecca Carpenter, like couples book her because she does a very amazing, epic couple session, right? She probably spends like half an hour to 45 minutes just doing like couple kind of sessions, the couple shoot. And her work is incredible and amazing. But I feel like my couples, that would be their idea of hell. After like 10 minutes, they'd be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like we get a mixture of couples. Like we like to work quite fast as well. And as you say, if the light's nice, that's when we'll want to do it. And most couples are flexible with when that happens. You hope the venue is also flexible.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, there's the odd couple who are like, yeah, we'll come away for as long as you want. And it's like, oh, okay.
Sometimes we'll be shooting a wedding and then, realizing that it's not actually a wedding. It's just they've gotten married. They're coming over. They're here at Glen Eagles, and it's just like, so throughout the days we're going to do big photo sessions, and then you're also to do the activities, and it can be really fun to be honest. I'll always remember that time we ended up in the women's bathroom the women's bathroom in Glen Eagles doing a shoot with Caroline.
It's the nicest room in the building.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing.
I love ending up in the toilets. It's the funnest place to be.
It is a fun place to be. But you do get looks as a man walking into the women's bathroom
with a bottle of whiskey.
It's just, you gotta just own it.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be here. Okay. I want to talk about inclusivity in brands, because I think, if I look through your portfolio, you're really good at showing a good representation of people. So what's like, am I right? Like, is inclusivity important for you and your brand?
Yeah, it's a really big pillar of my brand. I really have strived to be quite inclusive. I've still got loads to learn. And, coming from a place of privilege and not being in a minority group, I'm sure I still make mistakes, but I do really try and be as inclusive as possible, because I think everyone is deserving of love. Everyone is welcome. And yeah, I really like to champion that. And that's another reason why I do shoots as well, because I love to include, an array of, I want to make sure my styled shoots are diverse as well, not just in the models I use, but also the team that I use. And I think it's really important to be aware of that. The wedding industry has so much work to do. So many people just say bride and groom and that's it, but there might not be a bride at a wedding. There might not be a groom at a wedding. Lots of people assume things as well at wedding fairs and stuff. I've had tons of conversations with people about it. So yeah, I think, in this day and age, people do still feel that they're not welcome. So I want to make sure on my website, as soon as they kind of come onto it, they know that they are welcome.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be any question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got really peeved last night because I was on do I want to even name the group? No, I won't name the group. A videography group, and someone was joking about pronouns. And then it was just like comment after comment. Oh, don't talk about that bullshit. And I just got you just forget how many people are just not forward thinking.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
As Kirsty says, there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there being inclusive, but there's also a lot of work just to be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A big believer in science. So I am. And, I think people should read some of even the science behind sex, gender, all that kind of stuff. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, perfect example, Kirsty, your hats, they are also very inclusivity. Very inclusivity. What a great representation. God damn it, you're right. I brought hats back.
You just can't help it. I know, they're so nice, aren't they?
They are very pretty. Damn it. I'm so sorry. Do you have any tips for people who want to be more inclusive, or I don't even want to say who want to appear more inclusive, because that seems like a falseness. I don't mean that. I just mean like having a brand that clearly reflects their own personal views on inclusivity? Like, do you have any tips for people who might struggle?
Yeah, well, I think it is difficult sometimes, because if you don't have any work that shows inclusivity, for example, if you're not getting bookings where there are people in minority groups, then you might struggle, for example. Or, you know, if someone, you know, you haven't worked with an LGBTQ couple before, you might not necessarily be able to market for that, right? I think the first thing is to actually use inclusive language. So that is actually the first thing to start doing. Start talking about it, start looking at your website, looking at the words you use on your website. You can even write on your website that you are an inclusive wedding photographer, wedding videographer, that kind of thing, if you don't have the work to show, because then people can, you know, on your homepage straight away say, oh, they are inclusive because they've said it right here on their website. Obviously, it's nice to also be able to show that in your work, you know, in your kind of photography work. And that is another reason why styled shoots and, you know, doing your own shoots as well can work really well. But again, I always kind of advocate to make sure you are making sure that the styled shoots are diverse. You're using real couples who represent those different groups to make sure that it is authentic. But yeah, I think those are definitely the key things. It all starts with using the right kind of language and just doing a bit of research. Yeah.
How do you ensure that all couples are seen and valued within your work? Is it just a case of blogging every wedding, or do you do style shoots with just gay couple, different mixed race couples? Like what's the practical elements to have a brand that represents inclusivity? Like,
so again, making sure my language on my website is correct is the first and foremost thing. I also have a page on my website that talks about my brand values, and I talk about being, you know, an inclusive wedding photographer. Then also, I don't blog every wedding, but I definitely always show a variety of weddings that I work on to make sure that people do know that. And then again, doing shoots and showing that diversity, basically. So yeah, I think I just try and do as much as I can. I also, in my inquiry forms, I ask people's pronouns. I think it's super useful to know that in advance. So you're not assuming anything, because, you know, there's lots of different names out there as well. So I think it's quite handy to just know that in advance. And I think it makes people feel a bit more welcome. Lots of people comment on it as well and say, you know, even if I've got a heterosexual couple, they're like, we really wanted to work with you because although we're, you know, a heterosexual couple getting married, my sister is trans and or non-binary or whatever. So you know, it's something that people, you know, feel that it's an important thing for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've mentioned like empathy is quite important in your approach to sort of photography. How do you think your own sort of camera shyness impacts the way you approach a wedding?
Yeah, I mean, I hate having my photo taken, so I get it. Lots of people hate having their photo taken. I feel like it's almost like part of the British culture to be awkward in front of a camera. So I think that I like to just support couples in that and just say, look, we can be awkward and weird together. It's fine. And I think a lot of people, they often fear like the camera, and they worry that they're gonna look awkward in front of the camera, and that's where it's my job to make them feel relaxed and get those lovely natural shots of them having a nice time, that then puts their mind at ease about that.
Yeah. You mentioned fear, actually, which just panged a conversation in my mind that we had with Terry Hawford, who, by the way, if you haven't listened to that podcast, definitely go and have a listen, because it's a really good one. If you're thinking about beauty standards and plus size couples, all that kind of good stuff. But going back to inclusivity for a moment, one of the things that Terry mentioned was creating, like when she was doing a portrait session with a couple, or with any person, that the environment was something that she often thought about, to be like, to make the person or the couple feel safe and feel more safe is probably the best way. Like, do you, like, when you're doing a shoot with any particular person or couple, do you think about the environment, or is that left to the couple to be like, oh, we wanted to shoot here? Or do you give more of a, we think we should go here because it's safer for you? Like, do you have that kind of thought process?
That's a really interesting point. I guess subconsciously I do have a little bit of that, making sure that it's a safe space for people to be able to be themselves and feel themselves, right? But I think a lot of my couples are also quite aware of that and usually choose places where they feel safe. So I don't think I've ever had to take a lead on that and be like, I think we should go here. A lot of the places I work at are usually wedding venues anyway, so usually it's a pretty safe space. But obviously if you're shooting in like the city, if you're shooting in London, there's lots of public spaces around. It's obviously definitely something to consider.
Cool. I want to like switch gears a wee bit to talking about more of your website actually again, because your blog and your sort of content for photographers is great. Like when Simon was doing his research, he was sending me links going, this is cool. Like, do we have anything like this? This is really cool. So what's your like thought process behind that content on your website? Like, how did you come up with that content?
To help photographers specifically, or just I guess in COVID I'd kind of like thought about doing mentoring and helping other photographers, because I got so many Instagram DMs from people asking me certain things, like, oh, how did you do that, what kit were you using, or what flash do you use, or like, or whatever I was kind of talking about at the time. I'd always get questions about it, right? Or like, oh, how do you edit, or that kind of thing. And then in COVID, I had time. So I had so much time to think about things. I was like, well, maybe I can just create some resources for photographers. I used to share stories about a welcome magazine I'd send out. And that was the first thing, because everyone used to ask, oh, where'd you get this from? How'd you get your ideas about it? So then I thought, right, I'm just going to create a template for people. And at first it was an InDesign template that I launched in COVID, and loads of people bought it, and loads of people had time in COVID to kind of look at their business and look at what they wanted to do. And then it kind of just developed from there, really, and just trying to answer people's questions, and kind of got a list of different resources to do. I don't have as much time now, so it's kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit. So I'd say it's probably not as up to date as I'd like it to be, but that was kind of the idea behind it. And when I had time to do it, I kind of just kind of kept adding things and did a little shop with a few templates for people. And loads of people have fed back and said it's been super helpful for them. And like, I love helping people and like seeing people's businesses grow. So I feel like it's a really nice thing to do.
Yeah. I think we're similar in that regard. But so when I saw, you have a tab for photographers, you've got resource, you've got your shop, which is my Shopify. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
I've got one of these. I've got 100 tabs open. That's right. You sell presets. You even have a page that's your top business tools, which is a great resource for photographers. So yeah, you really go all out there.
I see pick time there.
Pick time. Oh, look, you've got a code. You use this code for your first free month. Look at that.
There you go.
We've got one of those too. So don't use hers. Don't use hers.
Who isn't on pick time now, though? I feel like pick time have taken over.
Exactly.
I know. It's because they're so good.
It's because they're so good.
Yeah. So back when we were talking about personal projects, and I assumed wrongly, obviously, that, well, not fully wrongly, but that you do these to blog about. Like, do you have ideas and do you implement ideas for blogs specifically? Like, what's your process for blogging?
So, I mean, my blogging is an embarrassment right now because I'm really behind on sharing stuff. But yeah, I'm always creative and I always have ideas. So my phone is filled with notes all the time about different things, different shoots I want to put together. And some of them don't come to fruition and some of them do. Sometimes I sit on them for a few years and then they kind of come out in the way, kind of takes a bit of a while to develop the concept and stuff. But yeah, I think in my mind, I love to be creative. And for me, it's the creative concept and development that then spurs on showing the inspiration for the wedding stuff. Sometimes it might be like, oh yeah, I'd love to do more of this type of wedding. So I might think to myself, okay, what kind of venue would I want to shoot at? What kind of fashion would I want to use? And I kind of do it that way. But for me, I think actually more than anything, it's actually about being creative and having creative freedom and having a play and just to be able to like develop more than anything, I think is why I do them.
Yeah. Do you think it's important for photographers to invest their time into blogging, or actually probably more so something like your resource for photographers where you're selling presets, you're selling templates, like for those who are maybe interested, like does it earn you a lot of money, those kind of things?
I mean, it's like, I wouldn't say I'm like raking it in or have like need a separate business for it or anything like that. But it's a nice little surprise, like at the end of the year when you see like the little bits add up, right? And it's passive income. So it's, something that I don't have to manage too much. It's just set up to kind of come in. I don't market it enough to make it, a lucrative side of my business at the moment, but it's a little bit. Every little bit helps.
Yeah,
definitely. Before we go into the show and tell images, is there any current trends in the industry that you either love or hate? Like what have you seen recently online that you're like, oh, that's cool, or
oh god,
the fact I have to do
I'm
that.
really gonna fucking cause I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't get the tilt shift. I don't get wonky images. Like I'm just looking at it like it should just be straight. I don't understand. Maybe I'm just old, but yeah, the whole like kind of fashion tilting, like I get it for certain shots. But I don't really get it for loads of portraits. Like, I get sometimes in fashion, it can work really well if you're like low down and kind of like got this kind of weird crop on. But in weddings, I just don't think it quite translates. I'm just a bit like, why isn't that straight? Like I usually take photos like that and then straighten them.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, if I'm looking at your portfolio, like your lines
horizons are good.
Your horizons are good.
Thanks.
Like none of this. What's it? It's called a Dutch angle, right?
Oh yeah, Dutch
Is that
angle.
PC? Is that PC? Is it? I don't know. Anyway, yes, none of those really on your portfolio.
Yeah.
No, I don't really do the blurry thing either, but I don't mind a blurry shot if it's like movement.
Yes,
and creative.
There was one.
Again, these things come down to if there's intention and purpose behind them, they can work. But yeah, there's maybe too many out there that are just doing it because they feel it's popular and they're trying it.
Yeah. Kirsty, do you use autofocus?
Yes, I do.
Like, okay, cool. Just because
what photographer doesn't use autofocus? I think 98% of photographers are definitely using it.
Okay, I meant like all the time. For example, right? I have realized I too use autofocus, which as a filmmaker doesn't always do me so well. But most of the time it does. And one of the times I actually leave it on is whenever I have a confetti shot. Now, on your main page, and I don't think I've selected this as show and tell images, so I want to talk about it. But it's one of these shots where there's a whole spark of confetti, and obviously, if you've got loads of things in front of your client, the autofocus goes, pew, there's the closest thing, and it focuses on the confetti. Now, I personally love that. And it seems to be that you like it too. Would I be correct in saying that?
I do. I love it when there's so much confetti you can't even see them properly. I love that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Because some people might say that's a mistake.
Nah.
But even if it was, because it's autofocus, so you're not really having that kind of control. You've made the decision to rely on autofocus for that moment to do this.
It's one of those moments that the AI culling might struggle with. Like, it comes down to subjectiveness.
The AI would have chucked that.
And that's a choice to keep that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
AI would have chucked that for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
We get on to show and tell?
Yeah, I'm just looking at our portfolio going, ooh, so many straight lines.
Let's show everybody else some.
Oh, yeah, sorry. See, I can't actually remember what images I've selected of yours. So I'll say why I selected this image, and then you can talk about it. First of all, can you see the screen okay?
I can, yeah.
Okay. So the reason I selected this image was, one, I'm a big fan of black and white in general, which, I mean, who isn't a black and white fan? But there's like depths to this image. Obviously, you do capture the emotion of the mother perfectly. But just off to the side, you've layered on the reflection of, I'm assuming, her daughter or stepdaughter or the bride anyway. And that's actually what I like about it. That you've used a reflection, and everyone knows I like reflections. So yeah, but tell me the story behind this image, and was there any forethought for the reflection, or was it just in the moment, happenstance, boom, you shot it?
So I love this moment too. It's actually a really old image now, and probably not that straight looking at it, but we'll gloss over that. It was a very quick shot that I had to do, and it was a very tight, small room. I knew I wanted to include the mirror, so I had to kind of like get in the right place for it and do the reflection. But I'd say it was still quite a quick. I didn't like put them in that position. I didn't stage anything, so it's very natural, authentic moment that just happened. So I just kind of had to kind of like almost duck over and just kind of like snap to get the shot, because it was such a small room. I think they were getting ready at their parents' house, and that's her mum looking at her, just gotten her into her dress and like fully turned around to actually see what she looks like. And she's obviously looking in the mirror as well, her first time reacting to kind of seeing herself in the wedding dress. And I just think those kind of moments, they just can't be staged. It's one of those really lovely, genuine moments.
Yeah, it just like having the reflection of the bride there just elevates the image, because it'd have been a lovely image of the parents' reaction, and you'd know the bride would know what the photo was of, but for anyone else looking at this as a neutral, they look and it's just elevated by the fact that you can see what the person's reacting to. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, when you're in this position, did you decide to do a version of it where the bride's in focus? Or was this, you just saw this and you were like, yeah.
I think after this shot, I think I did do a shot of the bride in focus as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it held as much prominence as this one.
Yeah, I agree. Just in obviously there's a difference between like creating an image and having that one image tell a story, whereas as a filmmaker you're kind of looking for a sequence of events. So I would always wonder what the next shot would be, and so well remembered.
I know it did take me a little while, because I think this was I think it was like 2016 or 17 maybe that shot was taken. It's a long time ago.
This shot, I forgive me, I can't actually remember where I pulled these images from.
I get a feeling these two were the website.
These two might have been the website. I think that one. In fact, that is number 3 image on your website. So you're obviously you. I'm assuming you love this image as much as I do. But obviously, one, you don't really have any straight lines to contend with, so that's quite nice. There's no particular horizon, which is also quite nice. But I don't know, there's just this perfect balance of the kind of greens with the warmth of the light, the light kind of hitting this couple. Yeah. And the fact that it's not center focused, in my mind, if I was to capture the scene, I might center the couple, but I like that you haven't, and it's filled with this kind of dense, what I'm only going to assume is an orange smoke bomb.
Yep, that's the one.
Yes, yes, I love guessing it. Which is I'm assuming that's where the warmth of the light comes from. Is obviously the light is there, yes, but the way the smoke has dispelled throughout the forest.
It's subtle enough that it looks as if it could just be the warmth of the sun.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, so
so that's why I like this image.
This shot was like a kind of fluke shot because it was during COVID times where we could kind of work again, but not really work again. So it was like an outdoor styled shoot in a forest, and I'd bought some smoke grenades just to be like, oh, why not? So we let them off and did some photos with them. But then we noticed that like where the sun was coming low through the trees, that the aftermath of it was actually so much better. I was like, quick, just run in there. I kind of got them to have a quick cuddle, and then I kind of took a few frames. And I think I did center them on one, but it wasn't as powerful as this. Because I think the sunbeams are just so strong coming through on that angled line to them in that kind of corner. That I really loved this one.
Yeah. Plus you do have this kind of like, I mean, it's fairly striking when I'm this close to it. This one tree that kind of is just a constant line through the image that's centered. So I suppose there is a center point, but it's not the focus center point. I quite like it, and I like the colors. I like how your color grading makes this look.
Thanks.
It's lush.
Yeah, I like to make greens look green.
Yeah. Yes, I tend to do the opposite. I tend to kill.
Yeah, lots of photographers
greens.
and videographers hate greens, and it is a color that is annoying because sometimes if you take it too far, it looks like toxic and horrible, and like grass greens can look really like. Ugh. But yeah,
the reason why I'm gonna speak for all video people here. I shouldn't do this, but I will. Is the fact that I was going back to that kind of sequencing thing, right? So if you've got, say, you're shooting an elopement and you've got multi-cameras on a ceremony, say, you could be looking over there and it's a fucking different shade of green. You could be looking over there, it's another shade of green. You're looking here, another shade of green, and all the shades of green are fucking annoying. And you can't just make them the same shade of green because something affects everything. It affects the depth. There's something with it. So it's a very awkward kind of color that you can't really push and pull too much on like a multicam sequence. So yeah, fuck you, greens.
That does make sense actually. Yeah, that makes sense because you can't just have these wildly different shades as you're like changing the shot. It would just be too jarring, wouldn't it? So
and this it also goes back to me thinking, oh my goodness, people who shoot an autofocus, like if you shoot to something...
Auto white balance.
White balance. Yes, thank you, Greg. Thank you. He's here. He's not just a pretty face.
I just know what he's always thinking.
Yes. If you're shooting, all the colors are changing all the time. So, in fact, we didn't even check with you. Like, how are you shooting your images? Like, are you a auto white balance type of gal, or
no? I usually shoot in Kelvin and just kind of set it for a certain point of the day, but I'm not too strict with it because I just sequence batch edit stuff. So for video it's obviously so much more important, but for me I don't have to think too much about white balance when I'm shooting, which is one of the pros of being a photographer. Easy edit, batch edit. That color's fine. Yeah. But auto white balance I just find annoying because then you have to tweak each individual image to be the same, and it's just a nightmare.
Yeah. And then you're left with a very inconsistent gallery to kind of I spend more time pushing and pulling to make it seem as one, you know? Which, you know. So this next image is hilarious. I don't know. There's something really fun about this image. And I mean, like, nothing particular is happening, which I think adds to the humor for me. It's just like, I'm sure the bride here is dancing.
Yeah.
But you can't tell, really. She's just got a drink and then a big cat's face. And to me, that's very funny.
Yeah, that's like...
and that's why I like this image.
That's just like my brand all over. It's just something so random and silly that I'm just like, yeah, that's fun. That'll go in. That makes the top 20 on the portfolio. It was just that was her cat. So they both lived in LA and they got married in England. She's American, he was British. And they had a cat that they obviously couldn't bring with them. So they got this massive giant cat head brought for the wedding to have photos with, and then she just ended up wearing it or like putting it on her head while dancing.
But the thing is, there's no like eye holes or anything.
No.
So she won't be able to see.
She can't see anything.
What's going on? I don't know. The more you think about it, the more funny it gets.
At first glance, I was like, is this like being superimposed on here? But then I was like, no, the shadow looks correct. Like it must be right.
It's funny, actually, because I too thought that this was superimposed because it's something about this line here where they've actually cut it, but they've used flash on the image. So you're kind of getting this like fake, well, not fake, but this white line around the side of the head, which for me just screams a bad
Photoshop job. Yeah, that's so funny. I hadn't actually thought about that before. Imagine if people just expect me to like superimpose their pet's face onto them.
Well, hang on,
there's a new trend.
I was going to say there's a passion project right there.
That's it.
You have to now do that. That's amazing.
I'm going to put it on TikTok and it's going to go wild.
Amazing. Was that
how many's that been? I think it was one more.
That was 3. One more. I'm not very good at. I usually try to keep with 3. So I felt like this image was a perfect representation of our conversation about inclusivity, and so I just wanted to have this up because I think it is very important to have images of such diverse people. Because we are, as people, so diverse with our flaws and our things about minds and things about minds. What am I even fucking saying? What does that even mean? Things about minds? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like some people are autistic and ADHD is on the rise, and I'm dyslexic and Greg's just weird in general. Actually he's not. He's super normal. Greg is super normal.
What is normal? Exactly. Yeah, this is the beautiful Jazz at my most recent styled shoot workshop at Scion Park, and she was just so beautiful. And the model agency that I used actually champion people with not the norm, basically challenging the norms of like modeling, which I was like 100% behind, and I just had to have her basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a stunning image, and just that kind of the way you've colored it, also just perfect. So lovely,
awesome,
lovely stuff.
Oh, I kept it to 4. There you go. Is there ever going to be a podcast episode where I keep it to 3? Probably not.
Maybe.
Have we talked about trends at all? Did we talk? We did. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on smoke bombs then on talking about trends? Because some people are very passionate about them. Some people loathe them.
Yeah.
They loathe them.
I mean, a lot of people say they're like a gimmick, right? Like it's just a gimmick. They don't mean anything. I'm kind of easy. Like I don't mind them. I wouldn't recommend doing them all the time. And I think if the couple want to do them, that's kind of on them. If they want to do them, that's kind of their choice. I have used them previously in like shoots and stuff. I don't tend to use them these days just because I feel like I've photographed a lot of stuff with them, and I feel like, you know, as my style evolves and stuff, I don't feel like I necessarily need them in shoots and things like that. But I'm kind of easy. Like they are fun. Like people have fun with them, right? You know, the joy I see on people's faces when they're like, we get to let off a smoke bomb and run around.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a fun element, I think. What are your thoughts on smoke grenades?
I mean, I just think they're a very useful tool. I mean, you can give them, obviously you have to be careful if you're ever, like, we did used to give our couples smoke grenades if they wanted.
You're still prone to suggesting them sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, I've got them if you want to use them. Whereas I'm more of the mindset similar to you, where it's like, you know, we've shot them enough. If a couple wants them, then sure, we'll definitely shoot them and enjoy that. But
I mean, yeah. It's just, I take that forest image that you had up there. Perfect type of like adding depth into what could be quite a flat, or like even those images that are so detailed it distracts from the subject. I think smoke can do wonders for creating light rays and adding a little pop of color here or there. And they do, like, couples do enjoy them.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real, they are fun. So I'm always a big fan. I'll always remember that time we were shooting in Hopeton House, and it was right at the end of the night. And I suggested this idea just for shits and giggles, where, you know, we would backlight the couple, we'd have smoke, and we'd shoot them. And the bride, hearing that I'd constructed this, got really excited, and she was like, "I've always wanted one of these kind of photos. I didn't think about," and she just got really excited. And it was just really nice to bring that much excitement to someone, just for being a little bit more creative, a little bit more outside the box, when, you know, like maybe another photographer would be like, "Oh, it's pitch black. Why even bother going outside? It's pitch black. Nothing out there." I liked it. And I'll always remember that reaction. So I'm a big fan of light and smoke and mirrors and just being creative and showing that you want to be creative for your couple, because I think
that's a great way.
There's nothing better.
It's a great way of looking at it.
You both said something quite interesting though. You both said, "Oh, I've shot that. I've shot it, so I don't feel like I need to."
It's in our portfolio, so we don't need to add it to our portfolio.
That's true.
But if a couple wants to do it,
so the question is,
so we've already got that representation.
Shut up, Greg. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. That
You're
was
representative of smoke.
What was it going to say? Kirsty, do you shoot for yourself or do you shoot for the client?
Good question.
And what does that question, like? What do you think of when I ask that kind of question?
I would say that being a professional people pleaser, that the majority of the day I am shooting with the couple in mind, as in like what they want to have captured. You know, like if I'm speaking to a couple beforehand and they're like, you know, we love your work, you're the artist, we love your creative vibe, but we'd love, you know, a shot of XYZ, then I'm going to make sure I get a shot of XYZ. So yeah, I think that I obviously want to serve my clients and my couples and make sure that I do a really good job and that they're happy with the end product. But then there are moments where I see things and I'll compose things, and that will be a shot that I take that I love, you know. So I think it's a bit of both. But I'm not one of those photographers who goes, I will only shoot what I want to shoot, or like, you know, 90% of the day I'm shooting for me, because it's not really about me, in my view. Like, that's my opinion. That's how I approach a day. You know, years afterwards, the couple may not even remember me, or like if their children are looking through their wedding photos, they're not going to know who the photographer even was, right? So those memories are cherished, precious memories for the people who are in the photos. So yeah.
See, if we were working together, Kirsty, I would make sure that my couple would remember you. I'm always putting in shots of the photographer in a wedding film.
Oh no, I hate being in the wedding films. I've usually got like the biggest resting bitch face as well.
Oh, we did that around that.
Yeah, oh good.
Good. Yeah, of course,
you're kind.
Or we'd lean into it.
And like just zoom in on my face, like in Keira Knightley in what's that film where he just takes shots of her face and it's like this, the wedding film, the Christmas film. What's it called? A really cheesy one.
Keira Knightley?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. A Christmas film with Keira Knightley?
Yeah, it's that one with Hugh Grant in and he plays the Prime Minister.
He's in all of them.
The big one.
The big one.
Oh my
Love
God.
Actually.
Love Actually. Well done.
Well done. Yeah, like
well
in Love
done,
Actually,
Greg.
where it's just Keira Knightley's face. Like, I look quite pretty. Oh dear.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. Obviously, London Thrive's coming
Yes.
up.
Oh, is that what we're here for? Sell tickets.
Sell tickets and buy some hats. That's right. Obviously, we talked about what you're going to be talking about, but obviously, there's a day 2 where people can buy tickets and spend those 2 hours with you.
Is, yeah.
I think it's a 2-hour session. What are people going to be buying into if they book your session, Kirsty?
Well, yes. So the second day is going to focus around shooting a couple. So again, I'll be looking at the elements of my brand and incorporating that. So it will be inclusive, it will be modern, it will be quite fun and quite natural. I'll be teaching people. The thing that I love about these small intimate shoots is when I do these big styled shoots, I don't get the time to actually teach people how I do things. It's just kind of like, yeah, I've set all this beautiful stuff up and let's just crack on and like shoot it all and do some fun stuff. Whereas these intimate shoots, I'm actually going to talk through exactly what I do, what settings I use, how I pose couples, how I make them feel relaxed, what kind of elements I use to kind of get those more authentic, natural shots, as well as those editorial style, lovely shots that I love to kind of, portfolio showstoppers that you love to kind of show on your page. So yeah, it's going to blend basically a bit of that in, which is really cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Should be good.
Very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Buy your tickets, folks. Don't just wait till the last minute because you might not get lucky.
Do you have any sort of final thoughts or advice for any newcomers to the industry? Like, what would be your one sort of, this is a key takeaway be to anyone new to the industry?
I think what's really important is actually, when I was new to the industry, I didn't really integrate into the wedding world for a few years. I was just kind of like solo and just doing my own thing and didn't involve myself in anything. And actually, as soon as I started involving myself in the community, going to things like Thrive or, making friends or networking with people or going to, meetups and things like that. There are so many things out there for photographers now and videographers. You've even got a conference at some point. There's a videographer conference somewhere in the UK happening at some point.
Yeah.
We're not just forgotten about.
I think it's October as
well.
Coda.
That's it.
Coda,
Coda.
Yeah.
Not forgotten about anymore. I think it's just my one bit of advice is to find your tribe, put yourself out there. I know it's scary at first, but actually it's so nice to make friends in the industry and have people to bounce ideas off of, to learn things and to just, not feel alone in it, because being self-employed can be quite lonely at some points.
Yeah.
It can be.
I think Lisa, on the latest episode, or the first episode of this series, she talked about how she tries to design Thrive so that if a solo shooter who's just in that position that you're talking about feels a bit sort of intimidated about going to an event, like she tries to design it to be welcoming and friendly to everyone. So yeah, go to Thrive. Good answer.
Go to Thrive, basically. I actually went to Thrive on my own. I didn't know people there. I did manage to put a little thing in a Facebook group and met up with a few people before we actually went into Thrive. But I went solo my first time. And it is a bit scary and a bit nerve-wracking, but I made some really great friends. So yeah, go to Thrive. That's my advice.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
When did you go and where did you?
It was Brighton. Yeah, I haven't been to the Scottish one yet. I do want to go to that, but
should totally come on.
It was Brighton. I think it was 2018 or 19. I can't remember which year it was now. One of those ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Ah, nice. The one before COVID hit.
Yeah, that fateful year.
And in closing then, the last question I always like to ask every guest is, do you have any book recommendations for our listeners?
Oh my gosh, I actually do. And I never usually read books, but I gave myself a random Monday off and I read this, which is on my desk. It's called Is This Something? And it's by Liam and Dominic Shaw, who are part of York Place Studios. And it's a wedding photography book on documentary photography. And I just resonated with loads of it, and it just talks about loads of different techniques and approaches, and just trying to find creativity in like the small little moments and approaching, the wedding day with kind of the stuff we talked about earlier about layering different things and telling a story, and whether it's through a single shot or whether it's taking like multiple photographs. But I thought it was a really good book.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find
definitely heard of that one because
I don't think it's on.
Who it's by, like York Place.
Yeah, I don't think it's on Amazon. I think it's only sold by like independent bookstores, maybe at the moment.
Okay.
But
Okay. I'm just trying to. Yeah, usually I try to just find it so I can give a price to people, but you're gonna have to do your own
get it
research.
direct from them.
You can always include the link to I can send you the link of where I bought it from, if that's helpful to put in like the show notes.
Yes, let's put it in the show notes so people can find it.
Yep.
Maybe I'll get Greg to buy it, who knows. That's unfortunately part of our thing is I tell Greg I want something and then I go beg him to buy it. And sometimes it works.
Is that how it works?
Sometimes.
So Greg holds the money purse, the money strings.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, one time I was actually given a bank card.
He just loses them all the time. So
2 weeks.
Fine.
2 weeks and then I lost it. Couldn't remember the code. I'm like, you know what? It's probably just safer.
Yeah, you don't need to know.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't need to know. Before we finish, Greg, what did you think of this margarita by Pentire Drinks?
It's very drinkable, nice. I wouldn't have drank the whole bottle in one episode though. That's a bit excessive. I've still got some of mine left because I'm like, I can't drink all of that.
I've had like three glasses of this.
I'm just glad it's non-alcoholic.
I mean, look, it says consume within 4 weeks, so it's not like...
Not 4 minutes.
I won't lie, I am feeling pretty hyped up on sugar. I am. So, but it was very tasty. So, yes. And I do apologize, Kirsty, because on hindsight, we would have sent you one, but I left it too last minute.
That's okay. So I understand. So, I'll have one later anyway. It's fine.
Okay. Good. Where can people find you online, Kirsty?
So you can just search my name, Kirsty Mackenzie Photography. That's the same for Instagram and TikTok and Pinterest and all of those things. So yeah, the usual routes.
Ooh. Excellent. And people can find us at perspectivebycinemate.com. Our Instagram is at perspectivebycinemate. Thank you to With Jack for sponsoring this episode. Are you ready for Thrive? London Thrive, actually. Get ready if you're not, because it's a 2-day workshop of an all-star wedding photography cast. It's a conference held at the UK's first art hotel nestled in the north of London on the 8th and 9th of October. So, yeah, unfortunately we won't be there, but yeah, that's very sad. Have a good time. If you have loved this conversation, you can hit subscribe on our YouTube at Perspective by Cinemate on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Spotify, Apple, all that kind of good stuff. You can find our episodes there. And we hope to see you in the next one. However,
in the meantime,
enjoy your Thrive.